Welcome to the Octavia RS 245. And as you can see, I just can't wipe the grin off my face. You might have seen our video of the Octavia RS 245 doing a 0 to 200 km/h run. And now we have the car with us on the road for a longer period of time. So here we are, let's find out how it performs. Skoda has imported 200 units of the RS 245 for sale in India. And the good news is, there are still a few units waiting to be picked up across the country. Before we start off this review, allow me to give you a brief history lesson. Now the Octavia RS, this very model, was launched in India in 2017 as the RS 230. Wearing a price tag of Rs 24.6 lakh, it sold out like hotcakes because of the sheer performance and the value that it brought to the table. 3 years later, Skoda relaunched the RS in this RS 245 guise. And with a price tag of Rs 35.99 lakh, it is approximately 11 lakh more expensive than what it was back in the day. So what is it that you get for your money? The engine makes 15 horsepower and 20 Nm of torque more than what it did in the RS 230. You get a new 7-speed dual clutch transmission versus the 6-speed in the RS 230. You get a limited slip differential. And the fourth change are these 18-inch wheels compared to the 17s in the older car. So let's talk about the first change, which is the 2-liter turbo petrol engine. Now Skoda has made some tweaks to the camshaft software, some tweaks to the turbocharger, and of course some other components of the engine, bumping up the horsepower to 245 and the torque to 370 Nm. This 2-liter turbo petrol engine was always a bomb to drive, and the added performance has made it even better. The engine is smooth, responsive, and revs really freely. You can't immediately notice the added power and the torque, but yes, the timings do speak for themselves. The second change is the new 7-speed dual clutch transmission. It is smooth and comfortable in the city, and it is really quick when you want it to be. Don't get confused, it's not the same transmission that also did duty on the Octavia 1.8 TSI or the old Polo GT TSI. This is an all-new transmission. This 7-speeder is the DQ381, which transmits power to the front wheels. So when you are driving normally and you put your foot down, at times there is a bit of delay before the transmission downshifts, but hey, you have paddle shifters, take control and move on. And on the day when you want a regular commuter, dial it down to eco mode and this one becomes a regular Octavia. And a clever thing with this eco mode is that when you are cruising and you lift your leg off the accelerator, the car goes into neutral in order to save fuel. And the moment you hit the accelerator once again, it engages a gear. The third change is the limited slip differential. The RS 230 came with an electronic differential lock, which basically just waits for a wheel to spin and then simply applies the brake there. The new car, however, has a more complex electronically controlled limited slip differential, which can transfer power to a wheel with traction much earlier and can even transfer 100% of the power to one of the wheels. Now while this may sound complicated, what the limited slip differential does is that it transfers power much more cleanly to the ground, giving you a lot more traction and a lot more confidence to tackle corners. The car feels much nimbler and the front end feels much sharper around bends and feels like a much smaller car than what it actually is. While the steering is nice and precise, a bit more weight would have done wonders to the overall feel and driver connect. The fourth key addition to the RS 245 are the new 18-inch wheels. Now while these may look really cool, ride quality has taken a bit of a beating, but when you hit a corner, the car will leave you grinning with its handling and dynamics, and the ride is a small compromise you'll have to make. And then there are the brakes, which do a stellar job of shedding speed. The size, performance and dynamics of this car make it a great driver's car. You can keep your 500-600 horsepower supercar with you. Give me an Octavia RS every single day and I'll be happy for the rest of my life. This car is so practical, so usable on a day-to-day basis, and it doesn't even intimidate you with its performance. In fact, this is one of the rare cars which you can really max out and still be confident while doing it. Now that you know how it drives, let's take a closer look at the exteriors and interiors. Its dimensions and styling are identical to the outgoing version. Curiously, it appears a lot higher above the ground than the outgoing version, with an ungainly gap in its wheel arches. Skoda, however, claim its ground clearance remains identical to its predecessor at 141mm, which is 15mm lower than the now discontinued Octavia sedan, but 15mm higher than the international RS version. On the inside too, there are hardly any changes, and everything including the part Alcantara sport seats, flat bottom steering and 4 carbon fiber trims is carried over from the outgoing version. The fully digital instrument cluster with various customizable screens is a new addition here, and so is the new RS mode button, which is a shortcut button for the various drive modes. The well-appointed cabin remains spacious and practical, and at 590 liters, boot space is huge too. And while on that topic, let's take a look at the equipment on offer. The duality of the Octavia RS 245 is something that you come to appreciate when you're living with this car. On one hand, it is just a regular Octavia. It is spacious, it is practical, it is comfortable, and then on the other hand, when you are in the mood of some fun, it plasters a huge grin on your face with its explosive performance and fantastic dynamics. But at Rs 35.99 lakh, which includes the full brunt of import duties, the Skoda Octavia RS 245 is clearly overpriced and treads into the rear-wheel drive BMW 330i's territory, which is just a few lakh away. Driving enthusiasts, however, will still find value in the RS 245, which incidentally is better equipped than the pricier, lower spec BMW 330i. All I'll say is that if you've been sitting on the fence on adding an RS 245 to your parking, just sign that check. This is the car that'll keep you grinning for years to come.